Hi gang, another weekly video here from Ron Robertson, which is me, RR. Today we're going to talk about guitar players and their hands and problems with your wrists and your fingers. And you can only talk about what you know, so I'm going to talk about some problems I've had and how I went around fixing them. Now, when I was young, yeah, my fingers were fast. It was all cool. Mostly rock and roll. I loved it. Fast, fast, fast. I'm not young anymore. I don't play as fast as I could back then. I just can't. So, it's not just that I can't play the thing. Sometimes there's problems playing what I want to play. Now, right now, there's no problems, but I've had problems in the recent past. So let's get into it. When you're young, you're playing music. Did full-time, part-time. I did both. Part-time, do construction, so it's hard on your hands. Roofing, carpentry, masonry, especially masonry. I was doing a lot of stone laying. It can be brutal. Time takes its toll. So you start to have problems when you get older. Hopefully you're not having them as a youth. But if you are young, maybe stick around. You could avoid some problems in the future. So the first one I want to talk about is your fingers not doing what you want them to. And I had this problem just last year. Playing solos, and it's like I know what I want to do, and they're not moving fast enough. They're leaden, like lead, like a Led Zeppelin. No, they're slow. So, what is that from? Well, I'd been to the doctor before that, and this is going to be this isn't what it's like today, but let's pretend. I said, doctor, look at this. If I apply the same amount of pressure, this hand goes down to here, and this hand stops. What's going on? Arthritis. As we get older, our joints. I can feel it today. I mean, I have arthritis in here. I can feel it in these knuckles. I can still play, but I can feel the stiffness. So, I didn't know how to stop this. It wasn't all the time, but it was happening on and off. You know, you play a fair bit. So, New Year's Eve, dry January comes around. I thought, oh, I'm going to dry January. Why not? Well, I didn't have that problem in my fingers. So, well, I'll do dry February. Still no problem. When you're seeing this video, it's going to be May. We're going to be into dry May. Alcohol is inflammatory. Arthritis is inflammation. I like beer. More so the taste than the effect. So I'm drinking non-alcoholic beer still. But the problem with the fingers not doing what they want on time, it's not so much the brain, it's the hand itself. Seems to be gone. And summer's coming up. We play a lot in the summer. It's like I want to be able to play and be efficient. I want to be as good as I can. So I'm not drinking. Now, you may not like that solution. And if you're young, it may matter. It didn't matter to me when I was young. I was drinking and fast as hell. But not anymore. So that's a quick one. If you're having problems with leaden fingers, you might want to think about laying off the alcohol. Just try it for a month. Probably good for your liver anyways. Let's see what happens to your hands. The more major problem, and this goes back to me being a construction worker or you doing any kind of hard work, is wrist problems. I ended up having tennis elbow at one time. I was off for a year, no music, no riding the Harley, no nothing. No fun. Hard times. That was a long time ago, though. I have had problems in the not too far past, though, with my wrists. And you get a lot of damage done to there in the nerves, probably. Who knows, right? So, the number one thing I want to recommend here is you're a musician. So the other day I was out doing some heavy lifting. But I knew I had 3 weeks off before I had to play again. And yeah, I could feel it in my wrists afterwards. So a couple of days not playing. Still out on the bike, but not playing guitar. Just to heal up. So when you got time off, that's the time to do the work around the house. That's very simple. But the problem was in the past there, and I was talking to other friends, I just couldn't figure out what's going on. Well, I seemed to have figured it out. So this is an old J70s, J50, going up to here. Can you see that? Those are vintage frets. They are small. I love vintage frets. My main two electric guitars are an SQ Telecaster, made in Japan, Fender, and a Fender Eric Clapton Strat. They both have these tiny little vintage frets. I love the feel of the wood. I love it for bending. Eric Clapton, maybe the best guy at vibrato. Well, he got that vibrato because your hand's on the wood, and it helps. Eric Clapton ain't playing much guitar anymore. Eric Clapton's got serious hand problems. He's in trouble. I've been in trouble. So, I didn't have an electric with jumbo frets. So I thought, what if I had jumbo frets? Here's the thing. If you play this chord, I don't know if you can hear that. It's just a D. That's the worst one I find. And I press as hard as I can. Light, hard, pretty much sounds the same. Do that on Les Paul with medium jumbles. As soon as you press really hard, you are out of tune. You are sharp. And it sucks. And I've been there and had that problem. So not everybody can afford a Les Paul. I went out and bought one. But most modern guitars, because it's easier to set up, are medium jumbo frets. You probably own electric that's medium jumbo. If you do, that's fine. So I bought the Les Paul, forced myself to play light. And the cramping went away because I was going like this in between songs at some points, just shaking my hands, just trying to get the blood circulation going. But it's from me squeezing, getting too much into the music, getting that vibrato. Love it. So with the Les Paul, it helps. Now, after you learn to play light again, you can go back to your vintage frets. Because then you know not to squeeze. But the problem is after a while, I find with me, I start squeezing again. So, gig last week, and I used the Les Paul again. It sounds good. Probably going to use it on more gigs. Just because it's good for me. It's good for my wrists. So, you can watch videos where people telling you got to do these exercise and that exercise, whatever. I think a lot of the problem is just abuse you're giving your hand by working. And by squeezing too hard in the neck. You give somebody who's used to a acoustic like this, vintage frets, and my main acoustic is I don't always play acoustic, but SST, Chet Atkins, Gibson. It's a Les Paul neck. It's got medium jumbos on there. That person grabs them, they'll think the guitar's out of tune. It's not. They're pressing too hard. And I've been there. When you're a construction worker, I used to have arms. I used to have muscles, not anymore. Squeeze too hard. And now I'm paying for it. Switch to the jumbo frets. You got a good ear. You fix the problem. That may not be your problem. It's all I can suggest. It's worth trying. So yeah, maybe lay off the alcohol. That's a hard one. And maybe play lighter. And like I said, if you got to do the heavy work, try to do it otherwise. If you do the heavy work for a living, you got to pay the bills, you got to feed your family. There were a lot of years I wasn't playing guitar. My hands were messed up. I got to do the heavy work. I got to make money. Got to pay the mortgage or the rent. So you do what you have to do. But as we get older, take care of yourself. Be kind to your body. Be kind to everybody else. Anyways, thanks for sticking around. Again, it's Ron Robertson. RR. We'll see you around. If you're in Ontario, maybe see you at a gig. Subscribe, like. It's a very small channel. Just trying to help out the community. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.